I actually want to follow up on what I talked about with Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky yesterday because more news came out. Obviously, it was odd, I would say, that Reese was not at the groundbreaking ceremony. The GM is asked whether she's happy with the team in the wake of the Teresa Weatherspoon firing, and he says, "We're good now," basically. But he alluded to the fact that there were high emotions before. And it's not as if Reese is out of, the country or whatever. She was at Wild and Out tour in Chicago at United Center the same day. So I don't know why she wasn't at the groundbreaking ceremony, but she also posted some cryptic tweets at the same time. And it made people go, all right, what's going on here? Right? Like, what's going on here? And then there was a report from the Chicago Sun-Times. And this is interesting. This is Annie Costabile, I believe, close to her name, in the Chicago Sun-Times. From the beginning, it was clear that Weatherspoon's inexperience would be a difficult hurdle to overcome. Weatherspoon's inability to keep the team schematically prepared was evidenced by her rotations and poor late-game play calls. So basically, criticism of Weatherspoon, her failure to maximize rookie Camila Cardoso, the number 3 overall pick. According to league sources, Weatherspoon had lost the locker room because of a culture that catered to the needs of a few players. That's the money line right there. And it's extremely difficult to read that line and not read between the lines that has something to do with Angel Reese, especially if you watch the Chicago Sky this season. There were many times in the midst of that double-double streak where it felt like it was more important to the Sky for Angel Reese to get a double-double than whatever the result was on the scoreboard. That's the way it felt to me in some of those games. I know I did the video, an article about the stat padding at the end of the one game, and people got mad. Some people got mad. I'm sorry, that was the worst stat padding I've ever seen. As far as the game being out of reach, the clock could be run down, and somebody calling for the basketball to try to get a statistical accomplishment. And that was, I think she already had the record at that point too, which made it even odder because I always felt like that double-double streak was a crutch for the Rookie of the Year race when people were still discussing the Rookie of the Year race. And you could even see Kennedy Carter didn't even want to put the ball into the block on that play. But that was one example, and it happened a few times in the midst of that streak where Angel got the double-double very late in the game, was subbed back into the game, things like that. And it did make you go at the time like, all right, that's a little strange. And then you see this report and you wonder if the GM thought the same. Now, is that Reese's fault, Weatherspoon's fault? I don't know. But to see it in print right there is something that has to be a little bit alarming and concerning because the Sky just continue to be a bit of a mess of an organization. And free agents probably aren't looking at the Sky as an appealing destination given the talk from other players in the league. Cardoso obviously needs to be a bigger priority for them. As you've seen, they're going to hire a new head coach. We'll see what the relationship is like with Angel Reese, how that goes, if they do see her as the face of the franchise. The media and fans have certainly positioned her as the face of the franchise. What does the organization think? I think that's another interesting thing and another bridge that will be crossed in the midst of this. And Angel's out doing her thing, which is cool. I think she just got the wrist guard off, and she needs to get in the lab and work on those layups and the finishes and the face-up jump shot in order to improve her game. But meanwhile, in the midst of it, she has become a player in the media game. Let's be real about it. She's doing a podcast, and she has been selective about some of the guests that come on her podcast. Some of them seem as if, the first episode used Caitlin Clark in the thumbnail, which was pretty what she was trying to do there. The Cheryl Swoops episode, I think she's going to have Dejanay Carrington on, which could be interesting. She had Dwayne Wade on last week, and then she's had, some more random guests. And the most recent example of that was a pretty random guest. And this is kind of amusing because I don't know what the point was or what they were going for here. She had on Kayla Nicole, who I guess is Travis Kelce's ex, and they were talking about like splitting the bill.
If you guys would see each other, like, are you guys cool or no?
I mean, I would probably like hit him with a head nod. We've seen each
So
other.
there's respect.
We've seen each other in public spaces, but I think that we're both aware of the nature of his new situation, that there's just no room really for us to communicate or acknowledge each other publicly without it being spun into something crazy. So we just keep it moving.
Well, I loved you guys together.
Wow, thanks.
Just saying.
So I loved you guys together. And there was another clip. I didn't about. I guess when she split the bill with Travis Kelce or something. I don't know. I don't feel like finding it. But that is just kind of stirring the pot. No. I loved you guys together when Travis Kelce is with Taylor freaking Swift. It's almost an invitation, like, Swifties, come and get me, right? And look, if Angels got thick enough skin to handle that, all good. You know, there's certain fan bases. Angels fan base is one of them. They're probably going to come for me. Nicki Minaj's fan base, Beyonce's fan base, Taylor Swift's fan base, Caitlin Clark's fan base. You know, like, when you rile up the bees, the beehive, as they say with Beyonce and the Swifties, they're going to find that and they're going to blow it up and they're going to be critical. So I guess I just don't understand, other than trying to cause gossip and that exact reaction, the point of that guest booking. But whatever, she could put whoever she wants on her podcast. I don't care. But what I do care about is the state of her team. And I do find that report interesting because it illuminates what we've all sort of seen. And it's gone very unreported. Like, it's like the WNBA media doesn't want to elevate those sort of stories for whatever reason. Because, you know, if that had involved the Indiana Fever, I think it would be a much bigger story. We've heard, like, oh, people don't want to go to the Fever, even though that doesn't seem to be the case at all. Meanwhile, you had Sky players crying in the post-game presser after their last game. Their coach is fired. The reports come out that the coach is fired because the coach was catering to specific players. We know there was stuff going on in the locker room. You could hear it. You could see it. There was Kennedy Carter's, situation and how combustible she could be, even though she had a terrific year. Like, there was just a lot to go on with the Chicago Sky, but none of it is, like, put into the public purview as a basketball storyline or a storyline with the franchise. But, Angels' other stuff will get promoted plenty. And you can do both, by the way. There's no issue doing both. I just things is the sky falling? Others would say it was already, had already fallen considering the state of the organization, but I don't think all is well in Chicago.